Hey, thanks so much for joining me for this interview. I'm really glad to welcome Marilyn McSweeney. Hey, Marilyn, how are you?
I'm good, Sid. How are you today?
Well, I'm doing great. Thank you. Hey, I'm so excited that you could join me for a few minutes to talk about, what's going on in the world right now and what's going on in our industry. And so before we get started, please tell everybody who's watching this video who you are, what you do, and the community that you serve.
Sure. Well, my name is Marilyn McSweeney. I'm the president of the McSweeney Group. Our team fills positions primarily in the commercial office furnishings industry or commercial interiors in general, and we serve people and human beings. Our goal is to fill the positions for our clients, but we care a great deal about our candidates as well, and we strive for the right fit.
Well, I love that because we are an industry of people, right? And our industry is made up of people, and those connections are so important, and people are so important in today's world. So, Marilyn, as you know, our worlds are upside down right now. In the last 4 weeks, 6 weeks, things have just really taken a turn for the worse, and they seem to be getting worse and worse. And we hear more and more about companies laying off and furloughing and reducing people's pay and all kinds of things. So, and this week, I think it was yesterday that I heard that there are like 15 million people that are that have currently filed for unemployment. And there's a lot of stuff going on. And as you and I both know, there are a lot of very talented, creative, smart people that work in our industry that are finding themselves looking for a job for the first time in what could be a really long time. So I'd like kind of your thoughts to kick us off today about, the current state of hiring in our industry.
Well, boy, has it done a 180 in a month. Our team was, I don't want to say how many projects we were working on, but we have a team of 15 people, and let's just say the whole team was working 12, 14-hour days to keep up with the demands, to today where every project is on hold with the exception of 3 or 4.
Wow.
It's definitely been difficult, not only for the candidates, but for the companies as well, who are laying off and furloughing. It's not any easier for them to have to tell you that they're going to cut off your livelihood than it is to receive that news. So it's definitely a challenging time.
Well, what I appreciate about what you just said is that companies themselves, this wasn't part of their 2020 business planning or their goal setting to, lay off and furlough and reduce pay for people. So it's impacted them as much as it's impacted individuals. Absolutely, right?
Yeah, it's scary times.
No doubt, but that's why we're here. We're going to show people exactly and talk to people about things that they should be doing right now in order to look for that job and move forward, because better times are ahead, guys. Better times are
absolutely
ahead. And it may not look the same as it looked pre, but it's going to get better than it is right now. It's going to get better. It may not be the same, but we're going to come out on the other side of it. So what would you say to ask my first question? Okay. So what tips would you give somebody watching this video about communicating that they were let go or furloughed or laid off during the COVID-19 pandemic?
I think it's kind of like the recession of 2008 and 2009, where that almost explains it right there. When the economy is good and you don't have a job, people naturally wonder, well, companies don't get rid of valuable employees, and sometimes they do, and there are reasons, but that's a hard sell in a great economy. Now, I think all you have to do is, say that it was part of the COVID crisis at that time. So what's going to be more important, I think, than why is what you did with that time.
Will you please say that again? You are speaking to me. Say that again. It's not, so what's more important than what happened to you is
what you did with the time that you were isolated without a job. I honestly think that that's going to be part of the interview questions of the future. I don't know about you, but I'm seeing people handle it very different ways. Some people are charging into high gear and using this as a time to reinvent themselves, to get prepared, to do the research they normally wouldn't have time to do. They're still getting up at their usual time. They're working out. They're eating well. And then I see other people that are kind of surprising me who are really using it as a time to be kind of lazy. So what did you do during this time? And really, it's about how you're messaging that you were laid off as well. As I've been getting a ton of these calls, as you can imagine, there are people that are still grateful and understanding and confident and trying to make the best of it. And there are some others that are really angry, that you cut off my livelihood. I had a wedding planned. I, have to pay off that vacation that we just took, and you're taking my livelihood. So really that message of how you took that information and what you're doing with it, I think is more what's going to matter, because everyone in the world understands COVID-19.
Sure, absolutely. And you just dropped like 3 really, really important points. I want to kind of recap and reframe just a minute. So the first thing you said was, what did you do during this time? And that is such a powerful question. So, I write a column for the Business of Furniture magazine.
Yes,
right?
You do a great job. Yeah.
Thank you very much. This is not a plug, and this is not, hey guys, this is not
I know, but I read it every week, so you deserve a little plug.
Well, the article that comes out on Wednesday is entitled, and today is April the 13th, so it'll be April the 15th. The article that comes out is called April 2020. And the whole premise of that article is, when you look back on April 2020, what will you see? In 1 year from now, what will you see when you look back? Will you see somebody that sat on the couch and went through their entire library and Netflix? Or will you see somebody that invested themselves and learned a new skill or enhanced a skill set or made new connections or impact somebody's life? It's a really, really great question.
Or served other people as well during that time.
You. Yeah, serve. Thank you, sir. I forget about that. And that's exactly what you and I are doing right now, is serving other people, right?
We're trying to.
Absolutely. So I don't want to go down the whole path of that, but what you said, that it just resonates because that article is so, so powerful. So the second thing you said was empathy. Lead with empathy, right? Be empathetic to yourself and to the situation. Being angry serves no one. Right? Especially the person. It doesn't serve you, right? And anger is just another way to replace what you've lost. You haven't grieved the loss of your job. I'm going to be clear. You have not grieved the loss of your job. And the way you're trying to do it is by being angry. And that's not helping you or helping the people that you're talking to. And then the third thing, and you didn't say it quite like this, but I'm going to frame it, is get your mindset right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get your mind in the right place in order to do the work that needs to be done so that you can go find a job.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
so
awesome.
When you're on an interview and, you have to explain why you're unemployed, COVID-19, next. Let's talk about what I can do for you.
Yeah, because I think that the important thing that you said is everybody in the world is dealing with this, and it's no big deal. If you say that you got laid off in February or March, April, and May of 2020, anybody that you're interviewing knows that you were directly impacted from COVID-19. So don't stay there. Don't dwell on it. Move on.
Yeah, you might need to do it, as stages of depression or shock or whatever. That is sometimes one of the stages, but try not to take more than a day or two in that space.
Sure, absolutely.
Pull yourself back up by your bootstraps and get out there and make a difference.
So I promise this is not plugs. If you watched any other videos, I have not plugged any products, and this is not a plug, but I did a podcast recording. I have a podcast called the Trend Report Podcast. You can find on my website, or you can find it on Spotify or Anchor if you listen to podcasts on Anchor. And it's episode number 3, and it's about dealing with loss.
Oh, great.
And it's about dealing with loss because what you're experiencing is the loss of a job or the loss of income. And
loss of security.
Absolutely. There's tons of
loss of self-esteem, unfortunately, in a lot of cases.
Absolutely. And we all have to deal with that loss. So that podcast is me interviewing a therapist walking through how to deal with loss. So go listen to
Mhm.
that podcast, episode number 3.
I actually did listen to it this weekend, and
Thank you.
she had some really great tips in there. Thank you for posting that.
Well, thank you, Marilyn. All right, so let's go on. And I'm not going to plug anymore, at least I don't think. So what I'm plugging is free product. So go get the free stuff.
Yeah.
But tell me about your thoughts on resumes.
Resumes. Great question. I am a firm believer, after doing this for more years than I'd like to admit, excuse me, that it is not the resume that's going to get you the job. However, if you have a bad resume, it can prevent you from getting the interview. I think at the stage that you and I both deal in with people, it's almost assumed coming into, an introduction or an interview that you're going to have a good resume. The rest, what happens after that's what's going to get you the job. But to have a good resume, would you like me to touch on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I want to say that what you said was the resume's not going to get you the job, but it could prevent you from getting the interview, which is so important. So what are your tips? Tell us your tips about resume.
Yeah, it is a researched, proven fact, and I'll tell you, I am absolutely right on this train, that your resume gets a 5 to 6 second glance before the reader decides to keep reading or whether to toss it or delete it. So it's very important that it is well laid out, well organized. To be honest with you, I am really against some of the advice that people that claim to be professional resume writers, and they say, oh, this is the new fangled way to, do a resume. You have to pay me and do it that way. It just needs to be well laid out, information easy to find, where you were, what your title was, what the date is. But then the most important thing from there is to bullet point your specific measurable accomplishments.
Okay.
So it's not enough to say that you were responsible for something. You could have completely screwed up that responsibility. But if you can go through your resume and ask yourself at the end of your statements, that resulted in, and see if you can answer that question. See if you can tell the reader what you did, what came out of that responsibility. If you're in a sales career, sales numbers, percentage increases, winning competitive accounts, awards that you might have been given, anything that proves that you were successful, because anybody can say they were responsible for anything, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen them, and listen, I'm guilty. I haven't done a resume, and I couldn't tell you how long either. But I'm guilty. As my responsibilities included I led 25 salespeople across the country. That's great. I led a team of salespeople. If my
what resulted from that, maybe they all quit.
That's
maybe
true. Yeah. That's right.
Maybe you had a lot of turnover. Maybe they all hate you. Obviously not. But again, what were the results of leading those 25?
So it's so important to highlight the results of what you said you did. So, I led this as the result, or this is what resulted in that. I had 3 people on my team promoted to a senior level role because I was a leader in this category, right? Or the result is I closed a big deal, one of the largest deals in the country, or, so be results focused. So 5 to 6 seconds, that is not a lot of time. Okay.
I do it every day. I'm guilty of it.
Okay. So it's like 5, 6 words almost. So when you're talking, right, 5 to 6 seconds goes super fast. So what is it you're looking for? When you look down at that sheet of paper or on the computer screen, what are you looking for? Where's the first place your eye goes?
It goes to really just glancing through the positions, the company name, the title, and the dates, and the progression. So I usually read a resume backwards. I start from after your education and see what your progression is, whether there's a lot of job hopping. But I just want to see whether this looks like what I'm looking for in that particular search. And then if that checks out pretty well, then I want to look at those accomplishments.
Okay. So you go to the end and you start from the end and work your way back. And so I'm going to speak for you, but what I'm gathering that you're looking for is you're looking for growth.
Yes.
You're looking for career progression
Absolutely.
and moving forward.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There needs to be a logical pattern there. I mean, if you were vice president of a $300 million company and now you're an individual contributor, you better have a pretty good story for why your career went backwards.
Sure. Why you took
and
that
the job
step.
hopping, of course, is always critical. If I can give you one tip on a resume, and I see this every day, is a lot of times people were promoted within the same company and they'll list those almost at first glance, it looks like you're job hopping. When in fact, they're all with the same company. So if I could encourage people to put, say you were with Steelcase and you put Steelcase 18 years and then indent and break down your promotions, because again, in a 5 to 6 minute, second glance, when you're looking at dates and progressions, it's going to look like you are a job hopper when indeed you were getting promoted.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So say that you were at Steelcase for 18 years, not
Mm-hmm.
that you were a Steelcase individual territory manager for 2 years. And then the next job says, global account manager. And the next job says director of product development. Put it all under the heading of,
no, you still want to break those down in a
right?
subcategory underneath that, but make sure that it clearly says Steelcase 18 years.
Got it.
And then break it down titles and dates from there.
Perfect.
Honestly,
so how long,
those of us that are ADHD are going to glance at that and go, job hopper, and
just move on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how long should a resume be?
It really should not be more than 2 pages.
Okay.
People are probably going to look at it quickly like I do. And if it's 6 pages long, it's overwhelming. It's too much to read. You want to have your resume be a teaser so that person wants to engage with you, because a resume can actually rule you out from being considered from a job. If you put too much information in there. So you just want to have enough of the teasers so that person wants to have a conversation with you.
Sure, absolutely. Because
it's all about trying to get the conversation. So occasionally 1-page resumes work, but if you've had a long career, it's really hard to put that on 1 page. And I'm not a fan of 9-point font,
Okay.
So 1 to 2 pages, no more, unless it's a CV. Sometimes that's an executive summary, and of course that's going to be long.
So I love it. Don't do 9-point font to get it to 1 page, guys, but don't go more than 2 pages and use it as a teaser to get Marilyn and other recruiters or hiring managers, for that matter, to actually pick up the phone and call you or email you and want more. So you want to give them just enough to make them want to say, I want to learn more about this person. They have some stuff that I'm interested in. Okay.
Yeah, because if there's something on there that's not particularly attractive, but they see that you have energy and passion and you're self-motivated and you're a doer and that you're emotionally intelligent, they're not going to care so much about those 2 one-year jobs on your resume if they see your drive like that.
All right. So there's a couple of opinion questions. Everybody's going to have different opinions about these questions, but what are your thoughts about a picture or a headshot on a resume?
Not a fan.
Okay. What about the use of color in a resume? Like, when the last time I did a resume, it was white, it was black font, it was like 12 and 10, and, it just flowed like this. It was really boring. So what about like the use of color? You see all these templates out there where people are throwing kind of their branded colors and stuff. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, to be honest with you, typically I'm not a big fan of that, especially colored font. I mean, I've had resumes rejected because they had kittens and butterflies on them. But the one exception is design positions that we fill. If it's tastefully done, you can have a resume that helps show your design and computer skills, but still there's so many of those that are pretty and they might have your picture at the top, but it doesn't have any accomplishments. The reader can't see what you've been doing, So I think that the pictures should be saved for LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you're trying to cross-reference. You want your viewership looking at both. So you want them to go to your LinkedIn profile to see your picture there. And then while they're on their profile, particularly if you've posted some things and maybe a video of your portfolio or whatever, then it's like, wow, this is a great compliment to resume. So keep the pictures on the LinkedIn profile.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So no resume, limited use of color unless you are a creative.
And if it's hard to be tastefully done, but some of the designers can pull it off. To be honest with you, I don't care about that stuff. I care about the accomplishments. I want it to be quickly. I like those black and white resumes with bolding in the right part, because I can quickly glance and see where you were and what you did. And, I don't want to get distracted with all the purple ink.
So again, great information. Stay focused, provide the accomplishments, focus on the results and that you accomplished. And the question that you ask is that led to, or that resulted in.
Yes.
Go ahead, shot. You save that for LinkedIn, provide just enough information to really get them to want more. They want to get to know you a little bit better. They want to go check you out, and they want to go to your LinkedIn profile, and be sure your LinkedIn profile's got good information in it and ways to contact you. So what are your thoughts, Marilyn, about posting resumes on job boards, or should I put my resume on LinkedIn? Or, how public should I be about my job search?
Well, I can't say enough about having a strategic, targeted approach to your job search. I hope we're not offending anybody, but for lack of a better analogy, I think it's far better to have a rifle approach to your job search than a shotgun approach. So the job boards are more of a shotgun approach, and I am not a fan. If you look up the research, there are 5% of the population that gets a job based on a job board. So don't spend more than 5% of your time posting that there. We don't even use job boards, to be honest.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So if you can spend that time building strategic relationships with key influencers, having a direction of where you want to be in your career, and forming a strategy there, than just posting it everywhere and seeing what happens. And we all have a little more time now than we used to, so I can see that that's tempting. And I'm not saying not to do it. It's just, it can make you feel like a failure. I've talked to too many people that said, I probably have my resume on 1,200 job boards and nobody's calling me. Well, how can that not affect your self-esteem?
Sure.
Nobody wants me. So, like I said, if you got some Netflix time or whatever that you want to put out there and see what happens, but don't expect much of anything in return. And spend that time building relationships and building a strategy and connecting with the right people and being able to communicate your personal brand and your value proposition.
So I love it. It's stay focused. Again, this theme of this whole conversation has been about focus. Stay focused, provide the good information and the results. But what you're saying is also have a strategy. You have time now. You're unemployed. Create a strategy and be laser focused. And I loved the analogy of the shotgun and the rifle, because it's very clear. The shotgun is multiple bullets going at whatever, and we'll see whatever hits the wall. Maybe it sticks, maybe it doesn't stick, where the rifle is zoned in on a target. So
absolutely,
if you know that you're a furniture person, or you know that you're a carpet person, or whatever it is, and this is what you want to do, and this is the role that you play, then target those people and target those companies, though they may not be hiring now. What you said was to make the target, create the strategy, make the target of the group you want to do, and then start building connections with and communicating with those people to build a relationship, so that when they do turn on the hiring faucet, if you will, that you're front of mind because you've been there, doing, and consistent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm going to wrap up. We've been together now for about 25 minutes. So thank you so far. Wow. Which grows fast, right? I told you it was just going to be a conversation and it's been amazing value. So thank you very much. So Marilyn, what tips would you give as kind of the last parting thing, any additional tips that you would give to the job hunter out there or the person that's found themselves unemployed to help them right now?
Yeah. Well, firm believer that, yes, you have to have a good resume and LinkedIn profile, but what your time's better going to be spent on is that self-development. I know you said you're a podcast junkie and so am I, but people are looking for, okay, they've glanced at your resume. They've trusted us as a search firm to pre-qualify you before you even get there. So put the resume aside. Now, do we have a chemistry connection? Do we like each other? Does the conversation flow organically? Are you emotionally intelligent? And that's a little more hard right now in these scary times when people's self-esteem and so forth is being affected. But you need to be confident, but not arrogant. You need to be gracious and generous and kind. I would say the number one faux pas that people make in interviews is talking too much. So listen more than you talk and don't interrupt, and just be organic and real. Anybody with most of a brain can tell when you're not being authentic. So I encourage everybody to go into those conversations just as an organic conversation, and don't think of it as an interview and, oh, did I memorize the right answer to that? Just have a conversation. But if you're not feeling emotionally intelligent right now, or that has been compromised because of this crisis, work on some of your self-improvement skills, because if you are desperate, it comes across in an interview. So take care of yourself, whatever that might mean. There's wonderful content right now on, YouTube and podcasts and reading, and whether it's yoga or fitness or whatever, just take care of yourself so that you're in a good, emotionally secure mindset when you do interview.
So we could spend the next hour talking about that phrase right there that you just said, right? We could literally, but I'm going to wrap it up with something that has been consistent in every interview that I have done. Every person that I've interviewed to support people looking for a job, every person has used the term authentic and somewhere throughout the interviews. And that can't be stressed enough, to be authentically who you are. Right. And then if what Marilyn was saying was, it's a tough time, and if you need help, ask, reach out to people, go to podcasts and look for motivation, read. If your self-esteem is damaged, go do something to repair it and to get yourself in the right mindset in order to have that interview and to have that discussion with people so that you come across authentically who you are. Did I say that right, Marilyn?
You did. If I could add one more thing, I can't say enough about getting a mentor. Someone that is willing to be a coach, or maybe you help each other, but someone to help you stay accountable for your goals. Write down your goals, make goals, and have someone help keep you accountable. It'll help you during these tough times. And
I think that's also really, really good advice. And mentors are easy, they're free, and you just have to ask. And listen, don't be afraid to ask the boss that had to lay you off. Let's be clear. He or she had to lay you off.
Had to.
Or had to furlough you. It wasn't, well, I want to. They had to do that. And so if you had a great relationship with that boss or another colleague that the same thing happened to, then form some accountability with them and ask that boss to mentor you as you go through this journey and the next step in your career. Don't be afraid. Don't be embarrassed. And don't be shy. Ask. There are so many people out there, including me and you and everybody else that I've interviewed, that is willing to help people on this journey. Right.
That's what we're surviving on right now, is helping people. And I know you are as well. And that needs to come from a genuine, empathetic place. And your boss may be too busy, to really take that time. But if you have someone that you admire, maybe it's a former coworker or, your neighbor across the street that is, a successful executive, just see if you can have those weekly or biweekly calls to help hold you accountable. And I know there's mastermind groups out there, and I think you've put one together.
We
or
have a
you're
couple.
putting one
Yes, there are
together.
groups. Yep.
Yeah, those are great too. If you can just get on, a group call and with other people trying to help one another.
Because you're not alone in this. There's so many people going through this. You're not alone with this. And there are lots of people out there willing to help. And so, Marilyn, I cannot thank you enough. This has been an amazing conversation full of a ton of information. So if anybody watching this video wants to connect with you, what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Email or LinkedIn.
Okay.
I prefer that as opposed to just getting a phone call out of the blue where I don't know who you are.
Sure.
So if you could send an email and we could schedule a time to talk, preferably with a resume, even if it's still in draft form, and then I can be prepared for that call.
All right. And so you're on LinkedIn at Marilyn McSweeney. What is your email address?
It is Marilyn@McSweeneyGroup.com.
And for clarity, it's Marilyn, correct?
Correct. Most everybody spells that wrong. So thanks for that. And McSweeney has an E in it. So it's McSweeney Group.com.
Okay, that's great. Hey, guys, and if you do connect with Marilyn, be sure that you met her or learned about her through this video so that we know that it's working. And best of luck to you out there. You've got this. Go out there, create your strategy, make your plan, and aim at this with a rifle focus, and you're going to come out on the other side of this in a better place than you are right now. Good luck to you, and we look forward to other ways that we can help you. Take care.